First, to give credit where credit is due, shout out to Jyll Gales, because she was the catalyst for this thought. Hadn't heard of her before, but it looks like she used to work at Google. I worked at Google, now I teach entrepreneurs how to become Google Ads experts, so might be a good person to follow. And Jyll says, unpopular opinion from an ex-Googler, we're moving toward a keywordless future. It's not a matter of if, but when. Start preparing now. Ensure your client's website is optimized so Google can understand it. Now, I first of all, I love the term keywordless future because it evokes so many emotions. And I'm going to use that term for the title of this video because it's excellent clickbait. And I think that Jyll is right in some ways. I think, and this isn't, she's not here to defend herself, A, B. It's hard, it's unfair of me to take a tweet and then deconstruct it, especially without having a conversation. So I might even reach out to her and see if she wants to be on the channel. But I think keywords are still going to be critically important. I think the point that she's making is our ability to use keywords on the front end inside of the Google Ad platform is going to shift. And it's going to shift towards something more akin to SEO. So you're going to end up building, and she actually goes on to say this later in the thread. What does she say? This is where SEO and SEM start to overlap. Make sure Google can understand content, context, etc. Now, we figured out really early on with DSA specifically that the more robust your content, the more effective Google was at delivering quality traffic. Which now that I say that is like, well, yeah, duh, of course. Google's crawling your site. So if you have robust content, it's going to be more effective. But I got to tell y'all, at the time, it was a freaking revelation. And we thought we were the smartest guys in the room. And we might have been. So this is not an unfair prognostication. I do think, though, that keywords are still going to be really important. It's just going to shift. The placement and emphasis is going to shift. So now you're going to need to make sure that you have those keywords in the content where, you know, prior to that might not have been as important. And it's really worth sitting and thinking about that because if you're not playing the SEO game, key phrase permeation isn't something that really occurs to you. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet, just ballparking, 20 to 30% of our clients don't mention their core product or service enough to adequately position themselves in the eyes of Google in this particular event. So if and when this happens, which I to be honest with you, I think is down the line. I think it's down the line a ways. I think we have some time to prepare. But let's say that we flip the switch today. You know, 20 to 30% of my clients aren't ready for it, which probably means 20 to 30% of you aren't ready. And it might be more. Go through your website content and you get to decide. You're like, okay, I'm a tax attorney. Am I saying the terms on my site that I'm bidding on? And that's really the way to look at this. Here's every phrase that I currently bid on that I know is profitable for me. Am I using those phrases on my site? And this isn't a quality score discussion, because you can use those phrases on the one landing page you send that traffic to, but if that one landing page is, you know, one of 500 pages that you have on your site, and on the landing page, generally speaking, what we usually see is we see the phrase used in the title, and then that's it. So I realized that key phrase permeation went by the wayside from an SEO perspective quite a few years ago. Google got really good at intuiting what's what. And you know, I know there are still tools out there that measure it, but every single SEO that I've ever worked with, including my primary SEO mentor, a gentleman named Michael Kasim, who's the #1 ranked organic SEO consultant in the world, has told us, don't worry about key phrase permeation. What's interesting is I think it's coming back. As a matter of fact, I think the direction that Google's heading, if there is a keywordless future, and I think she might be right, is it's very SEO heavy, but it's not SEO today. It's SEO 5 or 6 years ago, interestingly. And so we're going to start to see SEOs and SEMs working hand in hand, which is very self-interested from Google's perspective. You know, they're kind of merging their products, and which also puts them in a position to to reward their advertisers. Because if you're winning on Google Ads, that's the indication that you're going to go win organically. Because nobody knows what the organic algorithm looks like. And by the way, let me just repeat that. Nobody knows what the organic algorithm looks like. So any SEO in the world that tells you like, oh yeah, Google likes this, wants this, needs this, unless Google has explicitly stated that, and I'm about to argue at that point, unless Google has explicitly stated that, they're intuiting that based off of Learning now, I'm not telling you that they're wrong. I'm telling you that they don't know definitively. And the things that Google explicitly states are lies. Google has been lying. I remember watching Matt Cutts in those weird YouTube videos. I'm not bashing Matt, by the way. I really like him. But he would get up there and just bold-faced lie to us. Now, maybe he'd been lied to, but he would say things that I would look at, and I'm not the only one. Like, really heavy hitter SEOs would look at and be like, no, that's not true. Because they were trying to throw us off the scent. The worst thing that could possibly happen to Google is somebody understanding the algorithm, because then you can reverse engineer it and game the system. So, I'd be really careful with anybody who begins giving you the roadmap, because the truth is they just don't know. And that's the point that I'm getting at. Nobody knows what the roadmap from organic SEO looks like. That's why it's 100% trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. But if Google starts to merge what SEO and then the paid algorithm, how they perform, now you're getting early indications of potential SEO success inside of the Google Ads dashboard. And we already have that kind of, right? You can do key phrase testing, for instance. You've probably heard me talk a lot about the difference between house and home and our real estate investment campaign, and I'll go over that case study briefly if you haven't heard it. We had the highest performing real estate investment campaign on the planet for 7 years. We found out over the course of 2 or 3 years that the term sell my house fast was actually more profitable for us than sell my home fast. Here's what's interesting. From a CPC perspective at the time, the costs were roughly the same, conversion rates were roughly the same, and lead quality anecdotally was roughly the same. We would have our salespeople score leads as they came in. So sell my home and sell my house looked perfectly analogous to each other. They were effectively the same thing. And because of the way that Google treats synonyms, in some instances we're actually treated the same by Google. Here's what's interesting. People that searched for the word house were more likely to actually sell the property to the investor than people that search for the word home, which makes sense now that I know that. You're like, oh, okay, well, you have a stronger psychological attachment to your property. So sell my house ended up being more profitable for us over the long term, but it took us 2 years to learn that, because you have to track the deals through time. Had I started SEO, and this is a heavy competition term, so it would have taken us 18 months to rank nationally for something like that. If I started SEO before knowing that, I'm flipping a coin. Right? I don't know which of those is more valuable, and so now I'm going to guess, and I have a 50-50 shot of guessing wrong. And here's the worst part, is if I had optimized for sell my home fast, I'd get to the 2-year mark, be number one, and not even know that it's actually less effective than sell my house. And those semantic differences make a difference in the Google algorithm, regardless of what anybody tells you. I will fight them tooth and nail in a bubble bath with anybody who disagrees with that. So it's interesting here, because you can start assume in this weird hypothetical world that we now live in, the keywordless future, you would be able to start using Google Ads even more in order to determine what's going to work for you organically, which is actually really exciting. It's really exciting. And I believe in organic growth, y'all. I realize I don't sell SEO because it's not a scalable service, and it's so hard and it's nerve-wracking. And you wake up every single day thinking like, I wonder if today's the day that my business just goes to hell, because one algorithm changed by Google and 30% of your clients now hate you because you guessed wrong. I've been there. I used to sell SEO, and it was heart-wrenching. It was horrible. But I've got 3 people on staff whose sole job is more or less roughly the organic optimization of Solutions 8's website. So I believe very strongly this is an important service for you to undertake. And this would be interesting to see how well we're able to use one in order to feed the other. But as far as the keywordless future is concerned, I can see Google heading this direction with quite a few things. It's why they're so obsessed with product feeds, on-site content, and you've seen that in smart shopping, product feed, DSA, on-site content, and it looks like they're headed more and more in that direction with Performance Max. Performance Max has been finicky, y'all. It's so promising on so many levels. Part of me looks at it and like, I can't wait for that damn thing to work. But right now, it's kind of like one of Elon Musk's rocket ships. I'm like, I know this is going to be badass one day, but I'm not putting my kid in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's some bubble gum and duct tape on that damn thing, and you can see where some of the fail points are. It's working for some clients, but it's failing for others. So are we moving towards a keywordless future? Yeah, I think so. On the front end, in terms of our ability to say, I want this specific key phrase. On the back end, you're still going to manage from a key phrase perspective in so many ways. Unless Google goes and takes search terms away again, which, they actually went the other way because we got zero click search terms. But it'll be fun to watch. I really love these discussions. It's kind of cool just to reach out into the future and see what's going on. So really appreciate. Let's give her a shout out one more time. Jyll, you can see her little handle there to follow. Appreciate the little pitch. And then Hector, he's our producer at the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. He tagged me in this. So Hector, thanks for the idea for a video, brother. Appreciate you. That's all I got. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know we actually know what we're doing. We shoot a video every single day. So if you want to be notified, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any input, don't hesitate to hit us up in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We get very little human interaction. Thanks for supporting our channel, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.